Good morning, fitness, nutrition, and mindset enthusiasts. This is Mark Boney with Supercharger Wellness, coming to you today to discuss a topic that I have wanted to maybe not avoid, but maybe not get into at this moment. There's been some things occurring in my life over the last couple of weeks that have guided me in this direction, kind of forced my hand to make a video about this. The topic that I want to discuss today is the disease of addiction. I'm just going to speak from my personal experience. Addiction, let's just say this, I never thought that it would affect me. I grew up in a family, middle class family. My mom stayed at home with us. I have 3 younger sisters. I'm the oldest. My dad, he's an electrician at General Motors. He does well, works his butt off, come from hardworking family, hardworking stock, Italian immigrants. Nobody of which ever had any substance abuse issues. And I definitely didn't ever think that it was going to happen to me. The connotations that come along with addiction or alcoholism were the cliche things that you hear about addicts or alcoholics, which was basically like the guy drinking out of a paper bag on the side of the street, or someone underneath a bridge, you know, doing drugs, or things like that, things of that nature. And we were raised in the 80s with this campaign of don't do drugs, and there were some commercials on TV, and basically the approach they were taking for the anti-drug or war on drugs, and as well as the recovery approach they were taking at the time through the media, was an epic fail. Yeah. So the police came into our school in high school, and they brought in this bristle board presentation thing that was basically these fake drugs in baggies with the names of the drugs and the description. And that was basically the education that we got. It was don't do it, and these are what they look like. There was no prevention. There was no, this is what will happen to you down the road if you do this. You know, my mom would say something like, I knew guys who smoked pot in high school, and now they're my age, and you know, they can't really form sentences, and they're not that smart, and da-da-da. So it was basically like pot kills brain cells, and that was about the only lesson that I got. And at a young age, I was feeling kind of outcasted in certain ways. When I first discovered marijuana, I was about 14. Me and my cousin went and smoked a joint under a bridge. Go figure. And I came back to the house, and it was like a family visit or something. And I didn't really know what to expect, and I don't really remember feeling high. But when I went downstairs and I was sitting in front of the TV, I remember just like being like totally zoned into the TV and like worried that everybody was going to find out. And so that was my first experience with marijuana, but it led me to a place of interest. Marijuana became something that I used quite often at that point. Not in the very beginning, for a couple of years in high school, not until I was about in grade 11 that I started using it a lot more. First time I drank is grade 10, like actually drank. I drank before that, but it wasn't like actual like binge drinking. And I got sicker than a dog. I remember like passing out on the bathroom floor of this party when I was in grade 10, and it was like the Christmas break party at this dude's house, and I was on the floor the whole night. Everyone was like coming in the washroom to go to the washroom, and there was me puking on the floor. It was embarrassing. I don't remember any of it because I was blacked out, but that was my first experience with alcohol. And me being the genius that I am at the time, figured, you know, maybe I should just learn how to drink better. And that's what I did. Instead of kind of heeding the signals that maybe booze isn't for me. Maybe booze doesn't agree with me. And I should probably stay away from this stuff because it does bad things to me. I just continued on. And eventually I got good at drinking. By 18, I was drinking every day. Every day. Smoking marijuana almost every day. That's basically how things went for a while. And at that point was when I started to undermine the things that I was doing in my life with my education. with relationships, with my work, and just stopped caring about anything basically. And I basically just lived to continue on partying in this lifestyle with the people who I thought were my friends at the time. And some of them are, and some of them still are, but some of them weren't. And that's neither here nor there. That planted the seed in me, substance abuse seed, and from then it just got worse and worse and worse. My addiction took me places that I never thought I would go. You don't wake up in the morning one day and just be like, hey, you know, I think I want to destroy my life. You know, I think I want to spend every dollar that I've ever made on drugs and alcohol. I think that I want to live a very lonely, sad, depressed existence. That's what drugs and alcohol did to me. In the beginning, it was fun. All those times you have with your friends, all that camaraderie when you're younger. And those are great times. Those are the times that kind of hook you into the substance. It's trying to relive those moments, those kind of surreal, almost spiritual moments that come from human connection with drugs and alcohol when you're with people that you're having a good time. And then one day you're just there, and all that's there is left is you and your drugs or your booze, and there's no one else. There's no one else there anymore. Everybody's moved on, done different things with their life, gotten married, gotten jobs, whatever it is, and you're still there doing the same damn thing that you were doing 5 or 10 or 20 years earlier. It gets pretty bad. So for me, I had to go right to the dump with it. In 2012, after about 12 years of this, and a lot of missed or wasted opportunity, a lot of, you know, broken relationships and broken dreams, that I finally realized, after basically being dropped on my head, that I had to do something about this. And I've talked about this in previous videos, where this is the decision that I had to make, where it was either going to go one of two ways at this point. I was either going to continue doing what I was doing, and I was going to end up like so many of the other people that I know that have suffered the ultimate price as a result of this disease. And I was going to probably end up in a box. And the other choice was to face myself, my demons, and find recovery. And that was the decision that I made at that time. And without going into the details of what my recovery was, I just want to talk about the disease itself for a little while. And there's this big debate about whether or not addiction is a disease, or whether addicts are just assholes who choose to use drugs and ruin their lives. And let me assure you that nobody wakes up in the morning one day and says, hey, I think I'm going to ruin my life. I think I'm just going to use drugs until, you know, I'm homeless and broke and nobody wants to be around me and I have nothing left. Nobody makes that decision. That's something that comes as a result or a consequence of the choices that we make. And those choices in the beginning are, yes, choices. You choose to pick up that drug or that drink, and you choose to use that. But throughout the process, you lose the power of choice. And that's where things become ugly. When you're doing drugs and alcohol, when you don't want to be using drugs and alcohol, you have lost the power of choice. And that is where this disease comes into play, where it's listed in the DSM-5 as a mental disorder, alongside with depression, anxiety, and many other mental illnesses. It is treatable. They don't know if it's curable. And what happens is, through repeated substance abuse, we affect the pleasure centers in our brain, and we form neural pathways that wire different behaviors into our lives. And those behaviors, combined with the neurochemical changes in our brain, drive us to repeat this behavior over and over and over and over again. And because we have lived our way into this kind of prison that we've made, it's impossible to get out on your own. I know very, very few people who have been able to change everything and stop doing what they were doing on their own power. It requires seeking of help. It requires community, and it requires an absolute 100% will to change everything in your life. And that's friends, associations, behaviors, habits, everything, pretty much everything. You know, I could just keep going on, but I had to change everything. So that's why the outcome's so bleak. It's like 5% recovery rate or something like that. And that's for people who actually show up. I saw some statistics yesterday, and it's something like in the US, 40 million Americans are affected by the disease of addiction. That's more than cancer. That's more than heart disease. That's more than diabetes. It is the most prevalent disease in North America. And you can argue that it's manufactured by the government and drugs are brought in and whatever, and it's population control and whatever conspiracy theories you want to throw on it. But the fact remains that people are suffering out there. That our friends and our family members are killing themselves slowly. And they think they're doing it under the guise of a good time or a party. And, you know, if you're honest with yourself, after a while, the party ends. And it's just you and whatever mooch people want to be around you to soak up of whatever you have to give them. And when the party's over and the drugs are gone and you run out of booze, those people aren't there anymore to support you. Those people are gone. And you're left alone with a head full of dope and depression to boot, anxiety through the roof. So a lot of things stem from substance abuse. A lot of other mental disorders can occur as a result of the use of substances and the abuse of substances. And that's what we call concurrent disorders, okay? And that's when you have mental illness as a result or a previous mental illness compiled with addiction and substance abuse. So, you know, it just becomes a big clusterfuck after a while. And it becomes such a big, insurmountable obstacle that we don't know how to face it. We don't know what to do. But I've been there. Let me tell you, there's help out there for people. There's lots of services in the Niagara region. There's a million meetings. There's treatment facility services, inpatient and outpatient. We have a detox downtown that you can go to and just ask for help, get some help. You know, there's different 12-step programs around for people if they choose to go that route. AA, NA, CA, all these things are there to help people. Excuse me, I'm not being super upbeat about this, but it's not a super upbeat subject. You know, it's really tough, especially when you see other people around you suffering as a result of it. And all you want to do is just shake them and be like, man, stop killing yourself. There's so much more out there in this life for you besides, you know, this bullshit that you're giving yourself. You know, I've been given the gift of recovery. I've been given the gift of complete change, complete psychic change from the person that I was before. I've been given the gift of spirituality in my life as a result. Addiction is the only thing that the only disease that people will judge you for having, that people will look down on you because you're an addict or an alcoholic. They'll think you're some kind of moral defective. People don't look at people that have diabetes that way. People don't look at people who have cancer that way or heart disease that way. You know, it's a disease that's caused by a lifestyle choice or a decision that we've made. So somehow all the onus falls on the addict and not the lack of education that's required or the doctors that give out these prescriptions for people for pain medication that overprescribe opiates and get people hooked on opiates. And the next thing you know, the guy's a heroin addict on the street. I see so much of this crap. And so much misinformation and so much judgment from people who don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. And it pisses me off. It disgusts me. So, but that being said, it's the only disease that people will look down on you for having. But it's the only disease that if you recover from it, you will be a better person afterward than you would have ever been before if you didn't have it. I have discovered things about myself in this journey as a result of addiction and alcoholism that have led me to be the person that I am today. And let me tell you that prior to, I was not the kind of person that I am today. And I am grateful for the lessons that I have learned through this. And, you know, I wouldn't take any of it back. I had a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. and I wouldn't take it back, because I wouldn't be who I am today as a result. And that's a gift in itself. And I've been given so many gifts of community and friendship and changes in my life and spirituality and all these things as a result of having to go through that. And I hope that, you know, some people are watching this and it's resonating with them about their own personal journeys, or maybe they know someone who's going through something very similar, and it's really tough to watch. And for me, I have to disassociate from it. I have to, for my own well-being. As much as I want to help people, it's really one of those things where nothing can be done until the person afflicted makes the decision for themselves that they want to change. And then once that willingness comes into play, then we can help. We need 3 things in order to recover from a hopeless state of mind, body, and spirit. And that's just like the trifecta I've talked about, or the Triforce I've talked about in other videos: mind, body, and spirit. And that, in addition, we are hopeless in those 3 things. So 3 things are required to restore the 3 things that are broken. And that is honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And that is the willingness to go above and beyond and do whatever it takes to get clean and sober to change your life. The open-mindedness to accept some principles that may be foreign to you, like a God of your understanding, like spirituality, like doing some things that may be uncomfortable in the beginning. And the honesty to be honest with yourself, because, you know, we can lie all we want. It's a disease of denial as well. So we can lie all we want. We can lie to ourselves all day long about the state of our addiction, because that's what we do. That's how we persist. Because if we were honest with ourselves, we wouldn't be able to look in the mirror. We lie to ourselves and say, oh, it's not that bad, you know, I only did a little bit, or, you know, this is the last time, I won't do that ever again, until the next time, right? So it's a disease of denial. It's a disease of lying. We lie to ourselves and we lie to everybody around us. So if we're gonna continue to lie, especially to ourselves, then you're dead in the water. So those 3 things are absolutely required: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And once you start to develop those 3 indispensable character traits or principles, you then start to restore the body, mind, and the spirit. And they say that once you restore the spirit, the body and the mind will follow. Well, usually after a run of drugs and alcohol, the first thing to come back is the body or the mind, and we stay spiritually sick. And that is why we return back to the drugs. Because what will happen is you'll go through it, you'll feel like crap, you'll sleep it off, you'll wake up, you'll lie to yourself and tell yourself it wasn't that bad. You'll make 0 changes in your life. You'll continue doing the same things you were doing before, and it'll lead you back to the same thing that broke you again. And it'll just keep breaking you every single time. You'll do it again and again and again and again and again. And it'll just spin like that for years, maybe. And you might not ever get better. People die. Not everyone makes it. I've seen a lot of people in recovery pass away as a result of relapse or health problems that they've developed as a result of drug use, alcohol abuse. People blow their livers out from abusing their bodies. People go back and use drugs after an extended period of sobriety, thinking that they can handle the same dosages that they were taking prior to, and drop dead. I've buried a lot of friends, a lot of people over the last 5 or 6 years in recovery. I've seen more people die than I would care to admit. More friends die than I would care to admit. And I'm sick and fucking tired of it, to be perfectly honest with you. It makes me sick, it breaks my heart. So, there's more to life. There's more to life than drinking coffee throughout your entire week so you can just function, and then blasting your brains out with dope and booze on the weekends to tell yourself you're having a good time, and then doing it all over again. I don't even crave drugs and booze anymore. I don't even look at that as a good time. I feel sorry for people who have to engage in those kinds of behaviors in order to have a good time. I feel sorry for them. Because I've discovered something so much greater than that false pseudo fun. Ariana, come here. Come say hi. Come say hi. Come say hi. Come say hi. This is something that I have. Look at her hair. This is what I've received as a gift of recovery.
Stop it.
Ari. Ava, come here, sweetie. Come here, sweetie. Come here. Oh, the babies. The babies. Okay, say hi to the camera. Hi, camera.
Hi, camera.
Say hi.
Hi.
Say we love you.
Love you.
Okay. So this is Mark, Supercharger Wellness, signing off.
Bye.
I'll make more videos on this because it's such a complex topic that I can't just do it in a short period of time. And I would encourage anybody who's suffering or knows someone suffering from this to contact me. I know a lot about this subject, and I know the services that. Can you stop talking, please? I know the services that can be accessed in order to get some help and start on a road of recovery to change your lives. Okay. Anyways, everybody have a good day. Let's get supercharged.